This just may be the most important and impactful video I have done about user testing ever. People just like you are constantly asking me, Mike, when should I be doing more testing? Where should I be doing more testing? Please give me some ideas for things that I could test in different places. Today, all I do is I test after I launch my products to see if there's any problems, or I test right before I launch to see if there's going to be any problems, or maybe I'm testing my designs. But that's it. And when it comes to the development lifecycle of a product, and that product could be a website, an app, a commercial, a video, a social media post, some content, literally anything. There are so many places that user testing is a perfect fit within your organization, and I'm going to show you right now. Now, this is a slide that we show all the time to customers about the product development lifecycle and the different places you can test. You can see here, empathize, ideate, prototype, and deliver. So this really does cover all the stages of the product development lifecycle and different kinds of tests like validating concepts or prototype solutions. But let's face it, this is very generic and it is very difficult for a lot of people to understand how this lays into their own organization. So what makes the most sense is to work with user testing, someone like me, to map out your product development lifecycle if you've not done so already. It's a very simple exercise and one you should do. This is something that's very important to understand. So let's pretend that we're Acme Company, just the generic Acme Company, and we are going to lay out the actual product development lifecycle for your org. Here we go. So here is the actual product development lifecycle for this fictitious Acme Company. You can see it's broken down into the discover phase, the design phase, the build phase, and the deploy and optimize phase. It basically lays out from left to right how projects are conceived by our marketing and product management teams, what work goes into researching the effectiveness of any solution that we're going to put forward into our design group. Then our design team is building out their prototypes, and then whether or not they do any testing before it goes over to the development team, and then the development team's possible A/B testing and movement onto the deployment phase. Now, this is fictitious, of course, but it may look very similar to what your organization does. And in this case, you can see we've even placed in here the fact that Content Square is being used by the product management team, Figma is being used by the design team, and all of the decision trees that are in place when it comes to moving the project forward in the life cycle. If you look at this, if you pause the video and you actually look through this life cycle, the vast majority of times, projects are going all the way through to production with no testing whatsoever. And the only way we know if there's any problems with a project is when that data starts to feed back into Content Square or Google Analytics or Adobe Analytics or whatever it is you might be using. And we see that there is conversion rate problems, there's bounce rate problems, there's fallout problems, etc. We can do better. And we're going to take this product development lifecycle to show you how this whole thing can be improved dramatically with customer feedback. So now you see the future state. Now look how many different places we have now overlaid user testing, customer feedback onto this PDLC. In the discover phase, both marketing and product management should be getting feedback on their concepts. There are great templates in the user testing template gallery for things like concept validation that should absolutely be used here at the very beginning of the discover process so that we know that anything that we're sending over to the designers to spend money and time developing instead of other projects, those things have been vetted by customers. When we move over a little bit, we see, is research being farmed out to a third-party agency? If it is not, that is when user testing should be implemented internally, the DIY approach. Again, there are so many simple options, whether it's templates or building your own studies from scratch, that you should be using here before anything gets to the designers. Up above, we can see, can previous research be found on the shelf in the event that our research team is going to do this work and we do have capacity? This is where EnjoyHQ is a massive help because it is a research repository that makes everything you've done in the past easily exposed and searchable by the entire team. You don't need to duplicate research. Moving over to our designers, a lot of you are doing this work here, but some of you aren't. Once we build our Figma prototypes, we start even in the lowest fidelity prototype. We should be testing those prototypes with user testing. Again, there's great, simple, easy to use templates in the platform that you can use to test your prototypes. Even if you have no experience with user testing, it is absolutely simple. Moving over into the build phase, our developers are building out concepts. They're working in sprint cycles. They've got little bits of code and functionality they're building. Do they need to wait until the entire thing is built out and ready to be deployed to production? No, they should be doing testing in each and every sprint cycle. Very simple. There are usability tests that are in the template gallery, or again, if you're doing this repeatedly, you can build your own, save your own templates, build your own tests from scratch. It is so easy. It doesn't matter if you are a researcher in the discover phase, a designer, a developer, or a marketer. Everybody can use user testing. You can see here, this is where it will be done, right in this little spot here. Then once we've got things done, we move it into production. And then, yes, we do more testing in production to make sure that the customer experience in production is the same as it was in the staging environment, in the qual environment, et cetera. And of course, you will still have your quantitative analytics right here that you will be analyzing after something goes to production. And if there are no problems, great, it's over. If there are problems, you start the whole cycle again and you integrate user testing as part of that experience. So this was a very simple overview of actual product development lifecycle building, mapping it out so you can see it on screen. You can actually see what your processes look like, whether they're convoluted or straightforward, doesn't really make a difference. You can then overlay user testing capabilities on top of all of that. And if we wanted to go a step further, we could even annotate each one of those user testing logos and say, oh, in this spot, we're going to put these 3 templates. In this spot, use these 3 templates. In this spot, use these 2 quick answers. In this spot, we've got a custom template that we've built and use that. All mapped out, a very simple to follow process that is standardized for your organization so you don't get caught off guard when something goes to production. You find out customers either can't use it or they didn't even want it in the first place. So that is a problem that is plaguing corporations right now when resources are tight, budgets are shrinking, and we need to be getting value for every single thing we deploy. So take it from me, use user testing on your entire product lifecycle, whether it's websites, apps, marketing, content management, job descriptions, it doesn't matter. User testing can solve it. That's going to be it for this tip, but don't worry, I'll be back again soon. Until then, I will see you later.